Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with three S's. I'm your host here, Chantele and Francis, with my co-host Tanya. How's it going today, Tanya?
It's going good.
Going
Same
good.
old, same old. There's a person outside of my window right now that has been walking around blowing a leaf blower, and there's no leaves in sight. Like it's
Okay.
literally concrete. So, not sure if he just picked this item up and is very excited about this purchase and just really wants to use it or something. But it's really interesting to see him just walking around. He looks like a Ghostbuster, literally. Like
Is
he's just
the
like
leaf
walking
blower
around.
on?
Big, yeah, like it just like turns it on intermittently and blows around this like alleyway. I'm like, okay, you do
This
you.
seems dangerous. Is it? I mean, I've never really I've only been around a couple leaf blowers in my lifetime, so I don't really know.
It's just unnecessary because there's no leaves.
Yeah, he probably maybe he got like went to a garage sale or something, and he just picked it up, and he wants to see if it's working.
He seems pretty excited to be using it. So if that's bringing him joy today, then more power to him,
Well, I
honestly.
wonder if it's more or less joy than I had watching this episode. What do you think? Higher or lower? More or less joy?
Ooh, what an ep.
What an ep. I have to say that, especially with the news now, that breaking news, everybody, if you haven't heard, that Katie Thurston and Blake Moynes have broken up. Yeah, you did send me that, and I sent you that basically without even knowing that you sent me that news. So let's just like briefly talk about how you feel about that breakup, and then we'll get into how it's such a polar opposite season with Michelle that like I just want to get into it.
I am not surprised by the breakup. We didn't really have super high hopes for their relationship coming out of that season. And it was actually shorter than I expected, their engagement, but I'm not surprised. We know as we watched last season, we really felt like she was kind of like really pushing for, and production was really pushing for this ending, this happy ending, this fairy tale ending, and it just didn't feel very legit in the way that some others have. So, I'm not surprised to hear it. I wish both of them well, to be honest.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
it is what it is, but not very surprising news in my opinion.
It's the only surprise, like you said, is how quickly it all ended. Like, what was it? Maybe a month? Like, it's just okay. Maybe it was 4 months if we're talking about like when the filming actually ended to when they came out as a couple to when they've broken up now. So they haven't really been together that long. But this is one of the biggest problems that I had with the whole season is that there was so much focus on other things that she never, in my opinion, was able to develop deep relationships with any of the men. And now I know that it's a fast-paced environment, like it's not typical, one-on-one dates and group dates or whatnot. And so like it is more challenging to find a lasting relationship because you don't really get to know these people. But so much attention was focused on finding out who's the villain and who's not there for the right reasons and then canceling cocktail parties. And I'm like, wait, you have never met these people before. Like, why do you have to cancel a cocktail party? Your only purpose is to find out if you have a connection with these people. Why are you canceling cocktail parties? Now, I'm sure it's production that's forcing her to do these things, but regardless, I don't think that she really was going to do that well with anybody because there wasn't enough time with anybody. And
Yeah.
I was saying to you that I think that she would probably have lasted longer with Connor or Michael A than with Blake, in my opinion, because it seemed as though those two were more willing to kind of mold to her. And it seems like Blake is a little bit more like, well, this is what I'm doing. This is my life. I live in Canada. I go to Africa.
Mhm.
Like, you want to come enjoy my life. He seemed a little bit
Yeah.
more like, you have to join me. And they seem like they would be willing to conform to her. So I'm just curious if she had more time with any of these men that she might have made a different decision and if that would have been more of a lasting relationship.
If everyone didn't self-eliminate by the end of the season as well, because I think there was also that like pressure she felt to kind of like make that choice, and then it's very easy to convince yourself that it's one person when that's like really the only viable option that you have. So I'm curious as to when the breakup actually occurred, because I'm sure they've announced this after the fact. I have a feeling because she was out like hanging out with a bunch of the alumni at that festival that they were all at a couple weeks ago.
I believe Blake was
actually
in
separated
Africa at that time, though.
Oh, true. I didn't even think of being there. Well, yeah. And really the biggest fool of all is me, because I watched the entire season. And
it's us. I'm sorry that I made you do it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Many of them fail, so it's not exactly unusual for this franchise.
The swiftness was unusual. So we have some friends joining us. We have Dino here. Thank you for being here. How did you like this episode? Did you love it as much as we did? B-Bean, of course. Let's do this. Now, B-Bean says, I am set with Katie and Blake. I had November in the breakup pool. That's brutal, though. November?
So close.
I think we're thinking at like a year. You know, we were like giving them a year. But
yeah, I was thinking maybe 6 months. Has it even been?
When did they break up? Like, or when did they end the season? So
did the season air in May? And yeah, June, July, August. Oh, they almost made it 6.
I guess. Okay, 6 months. But I don't know. I would have made it work with that ring, you know? So Natalie has some tea here. Hi, Natalie. So Natalie says, Reality Steve announced that there will be 2 back-to-back Bachelor seasons.
No.
See, this is what's happening, right? So they jumped the gun, and they're like, oh my God, we need to have Clayton as the Bachelor. When nobody, like, maybe I'm going to like Clayton, but like nobody cares about Clayton, not up until these 2 episodes.
No.
And then a real Bachelor is going to emerge that everybody's going to be like, oh my God, they need to be the Bachelor. And then they're going to give them a Bachelor season. I don't know why they're going against their own formula to satisfy some interns like crush. Like, I don't get it.
It's too much. We can't have this many women on television. Surely we simply can't continue with the usual thing, even though we broke the mold for these 2 seasons. Let's just bring it back to the classic batch. I cannot. No one asked for this.
No one. Okay, so if you were to look at the cast of Michelle's Guys, because if this is a true announcement, it must be somebody that's emerged as a front runner that doesn't win the show that they have their eye on. So who do you think that might be?
So much yet to be seen. Honestly, if she doesn't pick Joe, I could see it happening. The only reason I couldn't see it happening is because he seems to have a very reserved personality, but I think that he could be in the conversation. I'm not really sure who's going to make it to the end here, so it's difficult to say, but that would be my pick, I think.
My first instinct, obviously I haven't thought about this longer than me just asking you this question. My first instinct was Joe as well. I think he's really cute. And like, he's shown some emotional depth that I wasn't expecting from him. He is really reserved, but I'm wondering if he starts coming out of his shell as the season goes on, which is why maybe like they might be eyeing him. But I agree with you. He would be my pick at this moment as to who would be someone that might emerge as a fan favorite.
Unless they go with Greg Grippo.
I mean, they want him bad.
I'm sure they do. I don't think it'll be anyone from Katie's season, though.
It could make sense it's Greg, because now that Blake broke up, it's like, oh, now Greg is kind of free to like,
Does that mean that it would be batch Bachelor in Paradise, or Bachelor in Paradise Bachelor? Because that gives us time for a Greg redemption storyline on Bachelor in Paradise.
Oh, okay. So let's look at what the actual timeline would be. So this season's going to end like beginning of January, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then they'll do like a couple months, like a month and a half or two. So like spring will be Clayton season that will end probably around June. I think they would do Bachelor in Paradise first, and then I could go ahead.
Would Batch air in the winter? Like I feel like it's usually in like January or February.
Okay, well it could. But no matter what, my point would be that then they would that I could see them doing Bachelor in Paradise before the second Bachelor. And I could see them doing a Greg Grippo redemption arc.
Because it could alternatively be like Bachelor season, and then normally the spring slot would be Bachelorette. But if they're doing batch, then it would be Bachelor in Paradise, potentially. Who knows?
I don't want that. Be back. I mean, I don't think I can cover both of the Bachelors because I feel like they're not going to pick anybody that I care about.
No. It'll be men again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're still in a relationship.
Allegedly. So hi, Lily. Thank you for joining us. So, hey, this episode was so good. One of the better second episodes. Absolutely. I think it might have been better than the premiere, but definitely great first 2 episodes. Now, I heard that the premiere didn't have great ratings. I'm assuming that it's because it's on a Tuesday, which like Tuesdays don't usually perform very well. But I would wonder if anybody has this information, whether or not episode 2, if it also performed poorly. I would like to know that because I really enjoyed both of them. I don't know if I'm just biased because I think Michelle is great.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really great 3 seasons so far.
I mean, we know the ratings have been steadily declining historically. So I wouldn't be surprised if overall that is what happened. I'm going to see if I can find the rating.
Wait, Phoebe, which question? The one that we were talking about with Joe? Well, I'm glad that we answered it for you then, hopefully.
He does seem introverted. He does.
But he's also like, he might have that quiet confidence that might come through that, like, I don't know. I feel like he's able to handle women. Like he's able to date multiple women. It just seems like he might be able to do that, except for he ghosted Michelle, but we don't really know all the details of that story.
Yeah.
We don't know. So Dino says, I started the season today and I'm loving it so far. Absolutely. This is a great season to start with if you haven't seen the show in a few seasons, because I'm liking it so far better than Katie's, absolutely. Better than Matt James, absolutely. I did not enjoy Claire's. I had high hopes for Claire's, but it went kind of downhill. And Tayshia's I liked, but it was quite budget. So this one feels more Bachelorette. It feels more glamorous. It feels more like that they're putting in a lot of money into the season. Like it feels great. So I think this is one of the best season beginnings in the last, I guess, year and a half.
Okay, so this was on Tuesday. It's down for the 18 to 49 demo. It's actually coming in third in that 8 p.m. slot, which is not great. It's placing behind The Voice, which I'm like, people are still watching that consistently. I always forget. And then
but that's like, I mean, I can see people like 18 still watching that show, absolutely, because like I used to love American Idol, but like I have not watched American Idol in years, and I'm sure that it still performs really well.
It's down 24% compared to last. Oh, no. Never mind. It's down 24%, but I'm not sure
from when.
What?
It can't be from Katie's season. Like,
no. But it's 2.79 million viewers. It's placing behind The Voice, which is getting about 6.4, which is also trending like pretty much where it is normally. And then the first place thing is the World Series Game 1. I mean, that's a major sporting event, so that doesn't actually surprise me, especially in terms of the U.S. television landscape. But
I'm curious to how it will perform.
The series low. Whatever.
I'm curious to how it will perform if it goes back to the Monday time slot after Dancing with the Stars. I'm wondering if that's what they plan on doing.
Yeah. Well, and like, it's also always been on Mondays. Like, it's like strange that it's like in this other spot. It doesn't feel like that's part of the Bachelor franchise experience is like, that's your Monday night. Like, that's what it always is. So I think it is a little bit of that. I think there's probably a lot of factors at play, but that doesn't take away from the quality of this season so far, which has been better than the last 2 Bachelorette seasons already in terms of the beginning.
Totally agree. Hi, Debu. So Debu says, let's be honest, Katie wanted Greg all season until he lost his mind and left, and then she settled for Blake. That's what it feels like from what they showed. I don't know I can't tell what her actual feelings were because she didn't express them fully to Greg. But it did seem to me that she very quickly jumped to I love yous with Blake when I didn't feel the progression. Not to say that she wasn't interested in building a relationship with him. I didn't feel that she was at that. I've been waiting so long to tell you that I loved you. Like, I didn't feel that from her at that moment. I do feel that they had chemistry, but I don't think that they were at the level of I love yous like they claim to be in that season finale.
And historically, Blake falls in love with everybody.
Yes, the joke. But the joke is now that Blake is going to show up on Michelle Young's season and be like, "It's always been you."
My God,
they're not even close to a match, though, in my opinion, at all.
She'd be like, "Why are you here? I'm just curious as to why you're here."
I was like, "Who are you?" BB says back to back means no Bachelorette. I guess maybe no Bachelorette until next year, like 2023 winter.
Like, I will literally be a year older, you know? Like, I don't have this kind of time. Why? I'm aging by the second, okay?
Right? Oh my God, I'll be so much older. I'll be 2 years older, actually, if it's like comes back in 2023.
We'll be 3 pandemic years in. Like, whew.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
Bachelor to air back-to-back seasons. Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. That is what it is.
So does it say when it's going to air?
Okay, so it says normally Bachelorette would start filming the week of Clayton's finale from mid-March to the beginning of May. The next Bachelor season will begin filming around the 3rd week of February. So it looks like it's going to be back-to-back. So
and it looks like there must be using someone from Michelle's season or someone from before that in order for them to already have an idea of the timeline.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe they're waiting for Greg to chill out, waiting for Katie Stans to relax, you know what I mean? And then they'll bring in Greg.
Interesting.
It's going to be Greg. It's going to be Greg. It's so going to be Greg. They've been salivating over him for 2 years.
And I mean, interesting. We got to keep an eye on the edits this season then. Let's start to see how they are presenting people because we know Thomas is not an option right now. He's in a relationship, unfortunately for you. So you never know. I'm like, who else was super relevant in Bachelor in Paradise?
No, none of the guys. Sorry.
None of them. Yeah, none of them. So yeah, they either super have someone in mind or it's going to be someone from this season.
BB, you are really, you're onto something. So BB is saying Tanya, yes, people are watching The Voice, Ariana Grande and her 273 million followers. Yeah.
I forgot that she was on it this season.
Me too.
It's just on so constantly. I feel like it's just always on.
And so it's never been a show that I watch. My mom's always like, oh, did you see this person on The Voice? They made me cry. And I'm like, I don't watch The Voice, Mom.
I used to.
And MasterChef are the 2 shows that my mom watches that I don't watch. And I'm like, I don't know anything about those shows. MasterChef, did you watch MasterChef? I'm like, no, I don't watch it. That's all right. Go ahead.
No, I used to watch it, but it got hard to keep up with because it was it's I blinked and then suddenly there was 9 seasons, 10 seasons. I don't even know what season they're on now. There's been so many different team leads or whatever, coaches.
Yeah. I watched maybe 1 season, maybe the first season I watched. Was that with what's her name? The first American Idol winner. What's her name? Kelly Clarkson. Was she on that one, or did she come as a guest?
Christina Aguilera.
And
Christina Aguilera and Adam Levine. CeeLo.
Oh yeah. I watched season 1 a little bit.
That was the original lineup.
Michelle was killing these looks this episode. She looks so good. Yes, she is working well with whatever stylist that they have there for her. She's saying yes to all these amazing moments. Like they're putting her hair and makeup are on fleek, looking great with all of her outfits. She's definitely winning in the fashion department this season.
The stylist is Carrie Fettman again. So
amazing.
Michelle really wears the clothing. The clothing doesn't wear her, and the looks, I think, just because of the way she carries herself and like she's like tall and like long, she can wear all of these things so beautifully. Like that pink dress that she was wearing at the end of the episode, I thought she looked absolutely stunning in.
And that's a hard color to pull off. Like not everybody can pull that off, and she looked, I agree, sensational. Mm-hmm. So B Bean with the jokes here. B Bean says Katie's no Desiree H. I can't say her last name. LOL. And I think that B Bean is referring to the fact that she went with her second choice, and Katie also went with seemingly her second choice, but Desiree is still with that man.
Yeah.
Chris. All right. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. His name's Chris.
Chris.
That's it.
And they have kids now, I believe, so it's working out for them. So this episode 2, it starts off with the classic guys out the balcony yelling out, Michelle! Which I wonder how many takes they had to do that, but I enjoyed it just because it's kind of cheesy. And then we see Michelle talking with Tayshia. And this is what the difference is. I know that I'm comparing, whatever, but like it just feels like they're having an actual conversation. It doesn't seem staged. It doesn't seem like lines that have been fed into their mouth, being like, you have to make sure you cover these points, whether she's told to do that or not. How she delivers and how they have these conversations, it feels like two friends talking. And I appreciate that. And it made me like even Tayshia even more because it did feel like there were two girls gabbing about this experience.
Yeah. I love this trope where they yell the name of the lead and it's like, she can't hear you. So what is this for? Why is this decision being made? Like, producers, please tell me, what does this signify? I don't get it. I know it happens every season all the time. Like anytime they get to a new city, they scream out into the skyline, Michelle. But I just don't really get what they're doing with this concept. I'm really not getting it.
I mean, I guess it's maybe I'm making this up right now, but maybe it's the whole Titanic of it all. Like, I'm the king of the world! Like a declaration of love that's just so grandiose. Or the echo in like a canyon, and it's just like sharing your love to everyone.
Declaration of love. We need to know how desirable this lead is.
Right.
Constantly. Wow. And this and toasting, the guys toasting and chatting. I think next party I have, I'm going to make everybody at my party do a toast just because I need to experience this like group toast mentality where everyone shares something that they're toasting to. And then we get the select few that they give us. I'm like, how many times? How sick would you be of toasting if you were on this show by the end?
I mean,
like, oh my God.
Well, since we're talking about toasting, have you watched Vanderpump yet?
Of course.
Well, and we know that Rochelle does like a toast, and I was very proud of Rochelle. And maybe you just need to have practice making toast and like throwing in some funny elements into a toast, or like, okay, see if you can slip in this word into a toast to make it more fun and enjoyable. So maybe that's how it's kind of played out. The producer's like, okay, so you get this word, you get love, you get appreciation, and they just give out maybe words to all the bachelors, and they have to use these words to provide a toast.
You're like, if you sign up for the show, you're toasting and crying. Like, these are things that you're doing. So just be prepared. Anyone applying, get your toasts ready.
Get your toast.
Be a toastmaster by the end of the season.
I have to say, though, I don't know if the men of the season are just smilier, but it seems like people are actually excited to meet Michelle and be there. It doesn't seem put on. Especially Rodney, he was just like grinning ear to ear, like so excited just like to talk about Michelle. And all the other men looked, in my opinion, really excited just to like be on The Bachelorette for Michelle.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's some people that are being a bit much
Such as?
in terms of their declarations. Well, we'll get to him, but for me personally, Rick is doing a little bit too much.
A little bit?
Like as a whole. Or just like in general, when people like are like, oh, meeting you like has changed my whole life. It's like, okay, it's really not been that long. So like let's be a little bit realistic here. But that's part of the show, you know. You gotta say what you gotta say. So I feel like this group of men seems very malleable in the sense that, like, I feel like producers can maybe work them a little bit more. I don't know if it's just that they're like so invested in being there or something, but it seems like they could be a little bit more easily like pushed to do certain things. So I think that's going to bring us some entertainment as well.
And it seems like they're able to execute it without it seeming too annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So far, anyways. So far. So Caitlin obviously comes in and brings the date card. I thought she looked really, really gorgeous. Maybe it's that we're enjoying both Tayshia and her darker hair, but I thought she looked very sophisticated and very pretty with the date card. So on the date card is going to be Brendon, Romeo, Rick, PJ, Will, Olu, Casey, Danny. I'm like, who's Danny? LT, and Peter. Today is a lesson in love. So we know right away, we knew from the preview anyways, that it was going to be a school date. And Michelle's going to have 3 friends of hers with high standards that's going to be helping her with this school date. And it's 3 5th graders. So do you think these were actually her students, or do you think these were like actor 5th graders that came to play her students?
I think they're just like 5th graders that they brought on, because it didn't seem like she had a previous relationship with any of them. And they were also serving face and like being really, really like sassy. So I think they like cast these kids to be that way. Like they were like, we want kids that have a lot of personality and like a lot of facial expressions.
I love them. They were great. And I thought about myself when I was in grade 5, or like when I was 10. Like I probably would have given a lot of attitude, and like I had a big personality at that age. So it would have been fun. It would have been something that I would have probably said yes to doing. You know what I mean? Because I was also an artsy kid already. So I would have loved that opportunity.
It's also a perfect novelty for like the ABC audience. I don't know if this is what channel Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader aired on. Probably, maybe one of them, Fox, ABC, I'm not sure. But like it's within the demographic for sure. People that are like, oh, that's so funny. The kids just know how to do math and these guys don't. You know, like one of those like, ah ha ha moments of novelty.
Not gonna lie though, I love Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? And I was talking on Couch Potatoes Queens yesterday, and I brought that up exactly, being like they're banking on the same type of audience that enjoys that show. So I enjoyed that show. So I enjoyed this segment. What did you think though of the Peter of it all, really trying to take a lot of the attention? So he would kind of be distracting Michelle and, you know, getting reprimanded by the kids, and kind of being a little bit, in my opinion, aggressive with musical chairs. How do you feel about Peter's participation as a student?
I mean, he definitely was doing things for attention. I'm sure that he just wanted to be present and known to be there. He has a very distinct personality. I'm glad he's on my team. If I was there, I would have been absolutely annoyed by him, though, for sure.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Casey was annoyed by him because he thinks that it's the Peter show, and nobody really wants to be on a group date with somebody that thinks it's all about them. It's just not fun in this environment. I get it. You want to stand out. You want to win over the Bachelorette. You want to get that group date rose. But like, you don't want everybody to hate you, do you?
No.
So what do you think about the inciting incident of the Will Peter drama that occurs later on, where they're asked to spell a few different words? So narcissist was one of the words that was being asked to be spelled, and Will decides to spell Peter as opposed to the word narcissist. And the kids pointed that out. What did you think about this as a little bit of a jab?
I mean, to be honest, I do think it was unnecessary to do that. Just because, like, even if you do feel that way, Peter's already doing so much to show himself and his behavior that, like, I think it kind of makes you seem immature to do something like that. And you don't know people's relationship with the word narcissist. Like, actually, to call someone a narcissist truly defined as that way is like, that's a bit touchy, because the implication, if it is from like something that's tied into their behavior, is a lot heavier than people think. So I know the show was editing it to make it seem like Peter was like talking about himself constantly, and then play on the fact that he was acting narcissistic. But I was just like, I didn't necessarily think it was cool for Will to do that. Do I think it's the most offensive thing someone could do? No, but I don't think it elevated his status in the date. I don't think it elevated his status in Michelle's eyes. I don't think it earned him that much from the other men there either. Like, it was just like, you did that and you made a play for a joke. I don't think it really landed, personally.
Yeah. So I mean, I totally hear what you're saying. When I was actually seeing it, I was just kind of like, that's a dig. It didn't really bother me that much, but when I think about like maybe the implications and how people feel around that word and not being sensitive to that, maybe being something that could be triggering, then I can definitely see your perspective. But when I originally saw it, I was like, he took an opportunity to try to make a joke, and it landed like kinda like 50%. I definitely didn't think that. I thought it would have been better for Peter to react like, what do you mean? Like, in that kind of way, as opposed to getting angry about it. I thought that maybe Will thought that Peter might have had like a little back and forth with him, but in a little more jovial kind of way, and not have taken it so personally. So I think that Will was expecting a different reaction than what he got from Peter. Definitely, I don't think he thought it was going to be some big fight that was going to be happening between them because of it.
I don't think he meant for it to be that deep, and I don't think it was put out there with the intention of being like super offensive. I think it was supposed to be kind of like a lighthearted jab. I think both of them came across poorly in the argument, simply because like no one was listening to each other in that. Like, I was watching it and like trying to understand who was saying what and what was being said. And it was one of those fights where people are just yelling at each other, but no one's actually like hearing what the other person's saying at all, to the point where Michelle even heard them yelling and could tell who it was. And I was just like, what is this fight about? I don't understand. Like, yeah, he's upset about the narcissist thing. I think I don't think that he started it at that heightened of a place, but I think they both escalated it there. I would have to go back and watch it again 100% to see how it even began getting as heated as it did. But it was just like suddenly they were both yelling at each other. No points were being made. No points were being heard. And they didn't end up anywhere productive from where they started.
We know it's going to end up with Will's jacket in the pool. So
again, great for me points wise. But it wasn't. I didn't come out of this feeling positively about either of them, really.
I totally get you. I do feel, though, that Peter blew it out of proportion. So I would say that he came out, in my eyes, like less good, but like neither of them great, you know?
And he's most certainly not a match for Michelle. Like, come on.
I mean, there's just no way.
No.
So Natalie says that she's seen people comparing Peter to Yosef. How do you feel about that comparison? I don't really see that personally.
Time will tell, but Yosef was really pretty rude. Like,
he was rude to the lead, and so that's where I would take it if I was comparing them, is how they treated Michelle or Claire. And I don't feel like they treat the lead in the same way, because it seems like Peter's doing things to try to come off good in Michelle's eyes, and Yosef was trying to do good to come out as, like, I don't know, a champion or a hero in the audience's eyes.
He was literally insulting Claire. Like, so I don't think it's the same. But
Me neither.
again, it remains to be seen how this will escalate anyways.
We'll soon find out. So we get to the date portion of the evening portion of this date. And first up is Brandon J, who just discusses about the fact that he wasn't really great in the spelling portion of this date. We saw that he spelled entrepreneur wrong and protein wrong. Poor guy. And like the joke there was that they're saying protein because like all these guys are like eat like protein heads and you have protein shakes. So like they would clearly know how to spell protein. Ha ha ha. But he didn't spell it correctly, which I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And I was watching, I think it was Charlene, and they're talking about like he was probably going back to that golden rule of I before E except after C. And he was just doing like, okay, it must be IE. And so poor guy, he got that wrong. What did you feel about this? Like, you're going to get 5 points here for this little conversation because they do end up kissing, but I personally found it really uncomfortable and awkward. I felt that she was like wanting a kiss for so long, and he was like just talking, and like it was really awkward for me, and it gave me like the squeamies. Like,
I think the culminating kiss was awkward, and I did like I have like this like kind of shriek scream that I do when I watch uncomfortable moments on any reality show. And like my partner already could tell like I was watching something very uncomfortable because he heard that shriek scream. He was in the other room. And I was just like, they're kissing. Oh my God, they're kissing. So it was like really weird, the kiss itself. However, I kind of liked the back and forth that they had. I feel like he tried to like play smooth moves and deliver lines, and then like she actually called him on it, and in a way it just made the entire situation like totally disarmed, and she was able to be kind of silly with him. And I think for whatever reason what I'm picking up on is that's intriguing to her, and there's something playful about that, and there's something that she's interested in there. I didn't think that they were going to be like a match or anything like that, but there's definitely something that she seems to be intrigued by in him. And I do think they have this kind of like playful, positively energized connection. Where that will lead, I have no idea, because he does seem younger than her. She does seem like more mature than him, but she also seems to kind of like get a little bit of joy and like taking him to task a bit in that way. So
like teacher student.
I don't know. There's just like something to it that seems to be intriguing. So I'm not out. I'm not out on it, but I'm surprised. I
totally hear what you're saying. Like, she is intrigued by their banter. And so the point that I was making yesterday when I was talking about this episode was that maybe it's because she didn't have the opportunity to date in high school, because this kind of banter seems quite high school to me. And so, you know, she's going directly into these like very serious relationships, like going to get married type thing. She maybe didn't experience the makeup behind the bleacher and like teasing, kissing, like silly, youthful kind of relationship. So maybe that's why she's gravitating towards him. It's because it's the type of relationship she never got to experience when she was in her youth, because she was all about basketball is what we're learning about her. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is why she's attracted to him. He seems too young for me. Like, it's just like way too young. He seems like he's in high school still. But from some of these people doing breakdown for the season trailers, it looks like he makes it really far. And so, like, can you picture him getting down on one knee?
No, I can't. Like, I honestly can't. But, you know, it starts to break down pretty quickly, though. Like, after you get a few of these, like, big eliminations out of the way where, like, multiple guys are sent home, as you start to get down to it, it really does come down to people like Brandon, who do end up making it pretty far. Like, we just came off a season where Justin made it to the Final Four, you know, like, well, that was, I feel, accidental, but like prior to that still made it to Final Four earnestly, like based on his connection with Katie. So I feel like people like Brandon are in that category. I think he ranks higher than a Justin in terms of like connection thus far. Again, we'll see. But like, yeah, those people are kind of like people that last. Like, he definitely has a better connection with her than a lot of the other guys that are there, besides like the obvious ones, which we'll talk about because they all feature in this episode pretty heavily. But yeah, I mean, my draft pick, so feeling good.
I hear you. Like the points this episode is high.
Feeling
So
strong.
this is a good point, Chantele. Peter actually apologized to Michelle. Yosef never apologized. Absolutely. And Yosef doubled down after the fact when he was given the opportunity after the final rose where he couldn't say sorry. He never even took that opportunity. So I think Peter is a little bit smarter than Yosef in the fact that like he wants to be relevant in the series, whether or not he wins over Michelle's heart or not. He's already a lock for Bachelor in Paradise. So yeah. Like
the way that he like tries to get attention or like tries to like be involved in all these things, like to me like feels like it's like underscored with like someone who was maybe like, I don't know if he's a younger sibling or like I don't know if he just got trolled a lot as a kid or just like was told that he was like too much or something. Like I don't know, there's some underlying energy there where he like, I don't think he was doing it just to be extra. I think maybe he just is because he's overcompensating for something. I don't know why I'm in such a Peter defense mode.
Hey man,
I'm really not trying to be that way. It's just coming up for me right now. I feel
that's
like
okay. He's on your team. Will's on my team. I get it. Just stand up for your man. It's all good. So yes. Lily likes Brendon, even though he's young. He's cute to me, and they have some chemistry. Agreed. He wasn't reading her signs, but they have good banter. Yeah, like she was like totally like trying to go in for a kiss like long before, like trying to shut him up, and like he wasn't even recognizing it. It was so awkward.
And then what did he say before, like right before he kissed her? He was just like, "You're so gorgeous." Like it was just like something. Oh man, like it was literally like leaning into the kiss as he said it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, so awkward."
It was so awkward. But she said sparks were flying, so that means something. You know, you don't have sparks with everybody, so we'll just let that be. So we see on this end of this date, PJ for a moment. So I'm going to give 5 points for PJ having a little mini date here where they played cornhole. So we've had a little, have an activity on a date.
Yeah.
Peter wants to have a chat with Will. So we get 5 points each here for them having some sort of fight that we've already kind of talked about. Yeah. Like, to be honest, I didn't even really remember what the narcissist thing was. I went back and watched it again. You know what I mean? Like that's how inconsequential it was from my viewing experience. And so I was shocked that it escalated as high as it did. And the fact that, I'm sure that they overlaid it in production, but that it seemed as though Michelle could hear it is just so mortifying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why aren't they thinking about that?
Like, edited it to be like, oh my God, like he's calling me a narcissist. How could he do that? And then like immediately cuts back to him being like, but what about me? And I was like, such savage editing. Like, I'm sure he did not say those things right after another in the same way that I'm sure Katie didn't say to Greg, I just love looking at you in that moment that they threw it in there. But they love to just troll people hard with the edit. I was like, oh man, just getting rocked with this edit right now.
Hi, Cassandra. Cassandra says, hey, ladies, I'm loving Michelle's season. I see real chemistry between her and a few guys. Absolutely, Cassandra. And I know that, you're with us. Usually on the same page with the people that we like and don't like and see chemistry with and don't. So, yay, I'm happy that you're enjoying this season as much as we are as well. So they get a new date card, knock on the door or whatever. And it says, Jamie, I'm looking for someone to be my rock. ... Michelle. Now everybody was like, oh my God, you got the first one-on-one date, Jamie. Are you excited? And he's like, well, like this is also time for me to like see whether or not she's a fit for me. Like if she's ready to drop everything and go jet set with me. Like, and I was like, I thought it was really distasteful, but I held out off judgment for this moment until the end of the episode where I came back and looked at it and had a little bit of a different opinion. So what were your original thoughts of that whole moment? Nate eye-rolling the situation. It was also very interesting.
My first thoughts were, Jamie got the one-on-one? The first one-on-one? Huh. I really wouldn't have thought that he would get the first one-on-one. Yeah, I feel like that's usually reserved for someone else. I don't know. Like, I just did not see that for him. So I was very surprised by that choice. like you, I didn't read too far into his comment at this portion. And as we know, this is emotional whiplash episode with Jamie, where we are in one direction and then suddenly in another direction and back and forth and back and forth. So at this point, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, okay, if I really try and remove like anything from this statement, I guess you do need to know if someone's also a good match for you. Bit weird to say that in front of all these guys in this way, but like I'll reserve my judgment. And that's like essentially where I was at this point in time.
100%. Totally exactly the same. I thought it was so weird that he would say this, but I can understand, and I was relating it to whenever I wanted to get a new agent. And I was like, I'm always like, you have to be in the mindset that you are hiring them. You're not asking them to pick you. And so I would go into meetings with new agents with that mindset. And so I was like, okay, like you're trying to make sure that they match with you as well. So I was like, definitely rationalizing how he could be coming at this situation. And then also being like, well, maybe he also doesn't want to fully get hurt. So like if it doesn't work out, then he might not have been feeling it either. So, so I was giving him, like, just like you, benefit of the doubt here, for sure. So 5 points to you again. So we're going back to the evening portion of the school date. We see Rick. I thought this was cute, but Rick gives me a bit of the creeps. He had some homework where he had fill in the blank, sentences for Michelle to fill in, like beautiful or chemistry or whatever, and to make like a kind of like a poem.
Like Mad Libs.
Exactly. Mad Libs. Exactly what it was. And so I thought this was cute, but I'm not a fan of Rick. But I get 5 points for having prop on the date.
I'm not. No, I feel very weird about Rick, and I can't place exactly why. But I have some kind of off feeling about him, and he's also featured in my screenshot that I've taken, which is now his bracelet, and I don't know what's going on here. So I really deeply apologize if this bracelet has some significance or is symbolizing or important. But this tied into his look, which I believe was a pinkish tone shirt and the white pants. I wasn't feeling the palette. And he was also seated with his arm around Michelle and on her like hip. Which is fine, I guess, if you're dating this person, but I don't know. Something about this whole moment for me didn't land. I don't know that I'm in the majority with this opinion, though. I was kind of looking around online, and it seems like a lot of people like Rick. So please let me know. Like, maybe I'm missing something here. But
I don't think you're missing something, because I'm in the same boat as you. Even like the first night, I was kind of forcing myself a little bit into liking him and their chemistry more than I was really feeling it. He kind of comes across to me a little bit too eager beaver about this. Yeah. Kind of like Michael A. in a sense, where it's like, do you really like her that much? Like, why are you so cheap? It's like, it's just a little bit, for me, too much that it seems insincere and it seems a little bit desperado. And I'm like, I'm just not vibing with it. So
that's it. Yeah.
I'm with you.
He's doing too much. Like, he's really just doing too much right now.
And the kiss, they also have a kiss, like another 5 points. Yay, Rick, for, going in for that kiss. But it also didn't seem to mesh very well. So it was kind of like, she was like kind of pulling back, but he was like kind of going in. Like, they didn't have their timing good. They would stop and then he would start and she was like, oh, okay, we're going again. Like, it didn't flow at all. It didn't seem like she enjoyed it very much, not as much as she enjoyed Brandon's and other dates or kisses that she's had so far this season. So I think he'll last maybe a little while longer, but I don't think that he is going to be the final rose recipient.
Yeah.
At all.
And I think they needed to like have this scene seem like it landed well to create some kind of dramatic tension as to who she was going to give the rose to. You need to have a couple of options of interactions where like then she sits down and you're like, is it gonna be Brandon? Is it gonna be Rick? Is it like, who's it gonna be? And then it's not. So I don't know that it was actually as like great, but she did seem more into it than I thought. So whatever.
Well, she's also the lead of the show, and she doesn't want to make this guy feel like garbage. But
It's true. She was down to do the Mad Libs and be present in that moment, and we love her for that. So
next, Michelle calls over your guy Peter, and to explain that she overheard the yelling. And this is another moment where I'm enjoying how Michelle handles these situations. So she speaks to him and is like, I don't know where your background is and how you're feeling about this word. So I can't say that I know how you were feeling, but I can know how you handled the situation. And she's like, it's all butterflies right now, but like you could be speaking to me like that. And I like how she made him see from her perspective as to why that isn't very attractive for her to witness, and that it shows something of his character. And then he was able to say like, well, that was really out of character for me. So I love how she didn't make him feel too scolding, but like in a way that was effective, I felt.
And her point was true. It's like, we saw how that screaming match went. It went absolutely nowhere. And that's like basically what she was saying to him, is that like generally yelling doesn't help those situations. Truly. Like, I think, one of the things that really came through in this episode that we were aware of, but like just in the way that she's handled pretty much everything so far, is that like, regardless of how she may agree or not agree or feel about anybody's individual actions, she seems to be leading her conversations with them from an empathetic place, where it's like, I'm understanding that I'm holding that this might be what's going on, but also like as someone who's like here with you presently, like this is something that you need to know. And I think that that's really mature and speaks like very highly of her character to like, she could have easily told him off or something, a classic Bachelorette moment, or really scolded him or done that. And she could have done that, but she chose to approach it this way. And I feel like this led to a better result in terms of his response than any other alternative, right? Like, she was able to reach him in some way in this moment. We know that this is temporary. He's just going to go throw a jacket in a pool. But I appreciated that she gave him the opportunity, and you give people the chance,
Absolutely. He does say after this little moment with Michelle that he got his rose robbed. And in my head, I was like, didn't you call Will over to have this discussion with him? Anyways, it just showed that Peter isn't really fully aware of how he's coming across, and I don't think he fully took in what Michelle was saying. You know what I mean?
He did not.
But he's just there for the lulz. Absolutely. So your guy Brendon gets the group date rose. So another 5 points goes to you. So we're on to Jamie's date here, and I was shocked by this date, to be honest, because especially how it came in, we're just like, oh, maybe he's like going to be a little bit reserved or whatnot. And the first part of it, they're going to go to Joshua Tree and they were going to go rock climbing. And this actually looks like a difficult space for somebody to be climbing that they seemingly have never been rock climbing before. And so he was kind of helping her through it, pointing out different hand and foot holes. And I thought he did a really good job communicating with her and helping her up that mountain. So I thought that was a very great character building moment for both of them with how they reacted to this rock climb. What were your thoughts at the beginning of this date?
I thought it was really interesting to see that kind of role reversal that Michelle verbalized play out, where she's like, usually I'm kind of in charge, or usually I am the coach. And then to have someone do that for me was actually really refreshing. And I was like, oh, yeah, he does seem supportive and super mature. I thought he came across well in the date entirely. And even in this portion, I thought it was nice. And of course, we got the understanding that, climbing rocks is what relationships are all about.
Yes.
Which, as Jamie said, what relationships are about: supporting each other when you slip or fall, feel nervous or scared, and supporting each other along the way. So really thank you for the metaphor of how rock climbing is like a relationship. I was really needing that, as I need with every date, to know how the event relates to being in a relationship. So thank you, Jamie, for that. No, I thought, honestly, all jokes aside, I thought it was a good date.
Absolutely.
So
they get to the top, they get a kiss, so you're getting another point there, the little kissy kiss. And then we get to the night portion, and she does express the things that you kind of already mentioned about, like, she didn't expect him to be as supportive in that moment. And kind of they talked back and forth about, how you can be my rock and I can be your rock, all that stuff, all these metaphors for rock climbing. And then you decided to go on a point receiving mission in this date. So we already got the 5 points for this kiss. We got the 5 points for receiving the first group or one-on-one date. And then, like, Jamie shared the most heart-wrenching story I've ever heard on The Bachelorette or Bachelorette, that seemed to be genuine, that wasn't coming from a place of like being like performative and like I need to share this really hard story. It seemed like how he shared it was so genuine about his mom and what he went through and the scares that he had with his mom and their whole relationship. I cried and she was crying. Like, it was a really beautiful moment, and that was definitely a 5 points for you for, having this like quite shocking, beautiful, emotionally open, vulnerable moment on The Bachelorette, and having the opportunity to maybe put some awareness around some of the issues that he has experienced in his lifetime.
Yeah, just like such depth of vulnerability. I had written, as he was sharing, that I appreciate his perspective on life, because I think, his point is true for people that go through traumatic events. And I can't speak to that specific event, but definitely, things that have happened that have an impact like that. Like, you do have to love yourself with all of those events occurring, and really accept yourself for the person that has experienced all those things. So I thought that was like really super vulnerable. And I thought Michelle's response was like, just the way she was able to hold space for him. And he verbalized it as well, to not just say, I'm sorry that this happened to you, but to be like, wow, I'm proud of you as a human for
overcoming
being here right now, overcoming this. And just like, she was clearly very like taken by emotion that felt very sincere to me as a reaction. And like, he's very empathetic. And I just thought it was a really beautiful moment, honestly. Like, we troll this show a lot, and they definitely play these moments out to kind of allow people to speak on their traumas and to use it as entertainment. This felt like a very true vulnerable moment that we were able to be let into. But my question is, did they air a trigger warning? I know Michelle posted in her stories prior to the episode, so that's actually how I knew that there was going to be a heavy conversation coming. But I don't know if it was in the actual episode, because that's a lot.
I didn't recognize it. Yeah, so I'm not sure if they did or did not. I'll have to go watch the ending of it again, at least, or definitely not in the beginning, definitely not the commercial beforehand or after. But I could have fast forwarded as well, so I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that's because I was passing through like commercials, so I didn't know if it was. But that's unfortunate if it wasn't included. And luckily, there's lots of people that are sharing resources out there now as well. But yeah, very powerful moment. And like, at this point, I think this goes back to all the conversations that we have about people that are on this show, as we see with Jamie here, and this like total change and different things that occur over the course of the episode, is that people are very complex and can be two things at once. And that could not be more true than in the case of this like journey that we went on with him through this episode.
Absolutely. So just to pick up on some of these comments, so Bean is saying Michelle's obviously looking for someone with more emotional maturity than Peter, the pizza boy. And then you completely juxtapose with seeing this date with Jamie. You could see that like that that depth and that overcoming and that growth in character is, I feel, more in alignment with what Michelle is looking for. Someone that is able to use what they've experienced in their life to do better, share more, help more, or whatnot. And so I definitely do not think that Peter, especially in comparison to this date, has a chance.
No.
Like, has done, like, not even a shot. So Naboo says, Jamie, talk about going from hero to oh my God. I don't know if he goes to zero, but like definitely whiplash, like you've been saying over here. It ruined his important conversation about mental health for Taboo. And I can understand that as well. It made me think twice about that conversation, which I didn't want to. It made me go back and just take a look at it again to see, like, is there truth or not true? You know what I mean? And like, I didn't want to be doing that, but it was just something that I naturally did when I saw some other parts of his character come out.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just wish that he had held maybe the same empathy that it appeared that he was capable of in the situation later, directed back towards Michelle. But we'll get there because there's a lot to unpack.
Coming. It's very exciting. So Bibine says Jamie is complex. On one hand, he was so introspective, and on the other hand, he was so petty. It's very, very. Like, I still haven't fully figured out what it is, and hopefully we will be able to kind of unpack that a little bit more. Hi, Charlene. Thanks for being here. So Charlene says Jamie turned out to be the villain. I know. I thought it was going to be Pizza Man, not him. It's shocking. It is shocking. But it's also not shocking that you have both Pizza Boy and Jamie. So whoever turns out to be the villain this season, you are getting points.
I did not draft Jamie with the intention of a villain arc for him, whereas Peter, I definitely knew was going to be a silly character, just like based alone on being a pizzapreneur. So yes, but yeah, I didn't see this villain turn coming. Did not.
Well, you get more points though with this date. So he gets the one-on-one date rose. So you get 5 points for that. And she said that she loved every second of today. And I think she said in her voiceover that like it was one of the best first dates that she's ever had. And that means a lot. Like, that's, I think, really important. Like, ever.
Yeah,
like, it was a great first date, and to experience emotion and emotional connection with somebody, that's very special. And so totally. I totally get that.
Totally.
And then the surprise extra 5 points that you get here, they also get a concert. What? A concert? Like,
why not?
I thought they were going to get fireworks right after this or something, and I was like, she's going to get another 5 points. So you definitely got a slew of points for this first date with Michelle and Jamie. How do you feel about the concert?
Whatever. I don't fault any musical artist for going on the show. Like, at this point, at least this person's singing and isn't like that girl that kissed Connor in the audience. So, live your life. I think this song was perfectly Bachelor-y. Like, I don't know, just the lyrics and everything. It's better than Memorize You. So good for her. I'm sorry, I don't know the artist's name. I didn't write it down.
Do you think that there's a shot that Jamie will be putting this song on a boombox and playing it outside Michelle's balcony window?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
So the next scene, you get another 5 points here, is that Joe unfortunately gets a phone call from his mom, and who lets him know that, I guess, one of his very big influence in his life coaches had passed away. And so he was quite emotional and upset. So whenever there's any tears from a contestant, we like to award them with some points of being open and vulnerable to a certain extent. So you get 5 points for Joe there.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the next date is going to be a basketball date where Joe is going to be on, and he says that he wants to go on this date because that's what his basketball coach would have wanted him to do. So it's going to be 10 men on this basketball date. And I'm not a big sports fan. But I really enjoyed this date.
Yeah.
What?
Me too. It's because Michelle's actually a basketball player.
Yeah.
So like I think it's one thing when it's like a game of like guys playing sports and then like the Bachelorette is observing and then we all just watch them play and they get competitive because they want to win a date with her, like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. Michelle's a former D1 basketball player. Like she's a baller and like we're about to see it. And that was so exciting for me. I was like, oh my God, I actually want to see like how she's going to play. Like I want to see her just like crush it. I want them all to be like so impressed with her skills. And it was amazing. I was like, we should always have a female athlete on the show. It was sick. I loved it.
Absolutely. And so she had two WNBA basketball players join her to help make these decisions and kind of lead this date. So it was Dearica Hamby and Diamond DeShields that joined her. And they were tall women because Michelle is about 5'8", I believe, maybe even 5'9". And these women were like probably about a foot, like maybe 6-8 inches taller than Michelle. So they were very tall women. But they were also good. Like they didn't show any tricks or anything like that, but like you could tell by how they were kind of directing these guys, like they knew their shit as well, obviously.
That's the thing. I like that they could observe it as a trio of people who like actually know the sport super well. And then like when they were commenting on someone being good or like having like smooth moves, I was like, they know what they're talking about. Like this is like legit.
And I feel like, I don't know if you noticed this as well, but Tayshia and Caitlin, I think they were shocked they were enjoying watching basketball with Michelle. They're like, oh, like they're so excited to be there, I guess, with like having Michelle commentating.
I'm not a basketball expert by any means, but like it also didn't seem like that bad of a game.
It didn't. It seemed like people were very good.
Yeah.
Like the red team in the beginning, they weren't doing very well. But like I believe Malik was on that team, and I felt like he
had moves.
He was going around. He looked like he was like an NBA player. Like he was playing really well, in my opinion.
He stood out for sure. Yeah. Apparently he does play or had played before. Probably not to the level of Mr. Basketball 2011 Joe, but definitely like pretty high level basketball player in and of itself. So I was impressed. Honestly. This was great.
I think Joe was 2008, and I think Michelle was 2011 runner-up.
Okay.
So this was some sort of like a part of where it all, I think, began with people starting to think that she and Joe might know each other. So they're both from Minnesota. They both are from the basketball culture of Minnesota. They're both playing at a very high level in high school, become D1 athletes. And so I don't know if he knew of her. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Obviously, they had those exchanges, but like she definitely knows of him as somebody like, oh, like that's like the best guy in the state, and I'm like the second best girl in the state. So I'm sure they had awareness of each other before any exchanges happened. And did you notice this one moment? So she kind of gives the red team, which Joe was on, a pep talk. And she goes over and she gives him a little shoulder squeeze. And it was like, come on, Mr. Basketball. And like, I was like, it was a very, I thought, intimate moment that nobody obviously is going to pick up on, but did you too?
Their like chemistry or everything that was underscored by their like basketball / life like similar, like when she was playing him one-on-one, I drew like the eye emojis that are like this. And I was like, oh my God, like this is like literally like she's in her element. They're flirt basketballing in front of everybody and they're both really good. And I was just like, this is it. Like I was like, this is a romantic comedy. Like this is everything that I need. It was like
so good. Great, like Dearica and Diamond were just like, they felt uncomfortable because they could see the flirting that was happening. I love it. That's a new term, like basketball flirting, or like flirting, the flirting ball.
Like big time. And I was like, this is absolutely riveting. Like everyone is just like watching this, just being like, what do you even do? And I think they're both being modest about his skills.
I feel like she said that he was from 2009, but I could have misheard. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Yeah. Honestly, like into it. I do think that the Joe of it all, like, I think it's gonna be a case of falling for someone who may not be emotionally available for you.
Yeah.
And I think we do need to consider, like, and I really like Joe. Not only is he on my team, but like I do think he's like kind of like the full package. I think there has to be something beyond the surface because she's like clearly very into him. I do think he likes her back. Absolutely. I think there's interest there, but it's like, why'd he come on the show? You know, like that's still kind of like a. And also, he doesn't seem like he's fully cracked open. I get having a wall up. Obviously, you're on TV, like totally. But yeah, there's just like, I feel like she's going to like really invest in this man. And I don't know if he's going to be able to reciprocate that right now, which is why I think he makes a great candidate for Bachelor. But I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with them.
Natalie says that Thomas used to play basketball, and doesn't Matt and Tyler play basketball? I'm like,
They play
sure, but sorry, go ahead.
Matt and Tyler are football players by like their college.
Yeah, Matt is for sure. I don't remember Tyler.
I'm sure they play basketball, like, but I think in terms
I don't
of
think
like,
at the same level as these,
yeah,
as Michelle and Joe. So they both, yeah. Okay, so I know that they're the same age. I know that they're from the same class, but I could have sworn that's what I heard. I remember like being like, oh, well, maybe he got that award earlier than her. Like I don't know if it has to be awarded in your senior year or like if he had that award awarded to him earlier than that. So I totally hear your guys' argument. I just thought that I heard her say that it was 2008 because I had the thought being like, oh, he received that award before she did, and they're the same age. I remember just thinking that, but I could have misheard. Definitely. Joe Michelle on our one-on-one basketball session was like nobody else was there. I know, and the way she was rubbing his neck, exactly, Lily, exactly. It was. I definitely was just like peeking behind that window of like intimacy. I was like,
yeah.
Have you seen the movie Love and Basketball?
Yes.
I was just like, oh my God, it's like Omar Epps and Sanaa Nathan. I love that movie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like all the makings of like a real, you know, rom-com love story, but you know, those also have their hardships. So
they do.
But he's definitely a contender, huge contender for sure.
Oh my God, like that movie made me cry. So it's definitely in the same line of like, you know, storyline. Maybe like they're apart and then they come together at the end because they're without each other, or he leaves and comes back, something. So yeah. I can see it. I still don't trust Joe, though. It seems like he's a little more into him than he is into her.
Yeah, there's something.
I can agree with that. There is a bit of a reservation, a bit of a block. I totally agree. Totally agree. Okay, so basically they're going to be playing 5-on-5, Lover Boys versus See You Tonight. So that was the red and the blue team. And in the end, even after the pep talk, Joe wasn't able to get his team to win. They were 1 point behind, so it was 28-29. The red team and Joe and Malik, who were two excellent basketball players, they lost. And so blue team, which I didn't write down who was on it, but it was Nate,
Martin.
That's all I remember. Martin.
Was Rodney on this date? No.
Rodney. Yeah, Rodney was on the date because at the night portion, wasn't that the taste test?
Yeah. Spencer, maybe? Oh man,
maybe
I can't.
Spencer.
Missing someone. I can't remember now. Was it Chris, the Canadian? Was he there?
Yeah, maybe it was the other Chris that was on the
the other team. On the losing team.
As well as Pardeep. Who? Pardeep.
Pardeep.
And I think Clayton was on the losing team.
Yes. Clayton, who got no screen time. So again, wondering when we're going to see him.
Well, he does seem to get like a one-on-one or something, so maybe that's where his rise comes. Maybe. I don't know.
TBD.
So Michelle clearly wanted to spend time with Joe. And so they decide to award him with the MVP of the day, which means that he was able to join the winning blue team at the after party. So do you think this was fair? Is this all fair in love and basketball?
I mean, he was the MVP.
Yeah, he was good.
I don't know if she was always planning on giving that out. But like, I think he was probably holding back on his skills a little bit. He doesn't seem to be showy. He, as the guy said, he didn't talk about like how good of a basketball player he was. He was being pretty modest. So I think if he fully committed to like going off, he probably could. Yeah, literally exactly this. Like he could have totally tooled everyone, I'm sure. So yeah, he was the MVP. Sure. Like he played amazingly. So bring him. And you like him, so bring him. Like that's fine.
Yeah,
it's not really fair to the other four guys. I they bring everybody, but I kind of appreciated that they didn't bring everybody because there should be a point to winning.
I think Malik was upset though because Malik did a pretty good job as well, and so like you saw at the end, like he kind of had his head holding his head down that he didn't get an opportunity to go on this date, and he did play second best to, I would say, Joe. You know what I mean? Yeah. So BB in saying that Joe showed modesty, he clearly did not want to brag or embarrass anyone. This is a bonus point for Joe. Yes, I do think that he could probably have done even better, but yeah, he didn't want people to feel too badly or that it was like unfair. So I agree. It was fine. So we have the after party, and she chats with Joe, and Joe shares with her like the moment that he had about his coach. And so he was able to be a little bit vulnerable here. It did seem to me like he was holding back tears the entire time. His voice cracked a few moments. Definitely you're getting 5 points there for him sharing this emotional thing with Michelle. And they kiss as well. So that's and they played basketball as well for a moment. So I don't know. Do you get 2 points or 3 points for this whole moment? What do you think?
I don't know. Whatever. And she understood where he was coming from too, because she also played and like knows what it's like to have a coach that's like a very important person in your life. I think there's just like so much alignment there that I'm really like very excited because I think she genuinely does have potentials in this cast that could be a really good match for her. I don't know if I'm brainwashed by the show at this point. I don't know if I've just been burned so many times that I want to believe, but like more than any recent season of this show I've seen across all franchises, I think she has some really viable options here for real.
Absolutely. Lily says, I like that there's two options that have equal chance to win. It makes the season more fun, like Nate and Joe are neck and neck. Absolutely, right now. And there's other people that may rise up. Like before the end of this episode, Jamie was kind of in this conversation as well. And so I am intrigued to see how maybe other front runners come to the surface.
I agree that these two are definitely finalists. Like there's no way they're not, based on what we're seeing, unless something really wild happens, like if someone chooses to leave or something.
No,
but like these two are favorites, definitely.
This is working for me because then at least I'll get some points for the win. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch up to you right now, Tanya, because this episode was like your point massacre.
Right, there's so much more episodes and so much more can happen. We know that.
I do. So Leah says, I do feel that Nate and Michelle giving me everything as well. The way he looks at her and kisses her, I'm here for it. Absolutely. I do like them together. So we'll get back to the date because we'll get to Nate.
Nate was on the date. That's who was. Oh yeah. Okay, sorry.
He was also. Didn't we say? We said Nate, Martin, Spencer, Rodney. And what other person?
I can't remember.
Canadian Chris, I guess.
Oh man.
We'll have to just assume it was him because I have no idea. So Martin, you get 5. Oh wait, Spencer. He shows a picture, so I'd say that's 5 points for Spencer here.
Of his son, of his child?
Of his son. Sorry, yes. I'm like, what was the picture of? Yes, of his son. So you knew, or I think I have Spencer, but with bringing up that he has a child. We're like, okay, that could be some points later. So Spencer, 5 points there. I also loved that while they're waiting for their opportunity to talk to Michelle, Martin is worried about Joe and like maybe Michelle's connection with Joe. And Nate is like, I'm not going to think about it. I like the relationship that we have. I'm just going to focus on our relationship. I was like,
amazing play.
Thank you.
Amazing play. Not only is that the best way that you could handle that situation, but I also just think he's confident enough in himself that he's not concerned.
Yeah.
Great.
And
he
like,
trusts
even
his
if he is
connection.
concerned, he's just going to focus on their relationship. You know, he's not going to create some drama. He's not going to go and like confront her about Joe and look all like, because honestly, it doesn't look cute if you're like, in my opinion, if you're like, oh, like I'm worried about some other guy on this type of show. It's just like, it just looks, in my opinion, bad.
And if you're worried, it means that you're not confident in your relationship and your connection, which he is. Like, it's clear. It's very clear to everyone that there's something going on between her and Joe, but he can't change that. All he can do is focus on his own stuff, and his stuff is going just fine with Michelle. So I thought this was actually very mature. Hopefully he, ends up kind of staying this way. Based on some of the footage, I think he might get in the mix a little bit more in terms of calling people out, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I definitely appreciated that he was just confident and wasn't going to go there and stir the pot in that way.
Absolutely. And I was like, props for Nate. I'm like, you're a good man, Nate. You're not just there. It seems like you're there for Michelle. You're not just there for the screen time or whatever, the Instagram followers. So Martin does a little bit of a tango and there's a kiss. So you get some points for Martin there. I get 5 points for Nate, whatever. Like they have like a little bit of conversation about like, I'm really into you. I'm so happy that I'm here, blah, blah, blah. But then he does a nice move. This is the Jordan JoJo of it all, where he kind of pushes her up against the wall and has a little bit of a smoochy smooch outside in the corner. So that's 5 points, but it was a strong 5 points that I received there for Nate. I think that was a very good moment for a front runner. Like he definitely is a front runner to have the confidence to be able to do that. And he's up there for sure. But the group date rose, so another 5 points to you, goes to Joe. Joe gets the group date rose, so 5 points.
Wow.
So we get to the cocktail party. And I'm like, wow, this is like, we're having a full episode. Like there was enough time left to get to the whole cocktail party. I was like, this is amazing. So is at the cocktail party there where Rodney has his moment with her where she blindfolds him and makes him do a taste test. What's going on with this man's palate? What's happening here?
I know.
Like a Red Delicious is a Granny Smith. A Granny Smith is a Gala. Like he has no idea what an apple tastes like. And then on top of that, Peter will be upset, but he has no idea what pizza tastes like. Because he's like, what's that? Lasagna? What?
Oh my goodness, Rodney. I mean, I found him to be endearing, to be honest. I don't know. There's something like, I think she was amused by him. I was in kind of scream cringe when he's like, can I take my blindfold off? And then the kissing after the first kiss happened with the blindfold. I thought that was cute that she did that and everything, but I do appreciate that there's a lightheartedness to whatever's happening with them. And it seemed like she was actually like laughing and having fun with him. So I'm here for Rodney at this point. I don't mind him.
I don't mind that he doesn't know anything about apples. He was able to pull out a storyline over that terrible costume.
Yeah.
And, like, even on the basketball court, she was calling him, come on, Granny Smith. I'm like, they have an inside joke, which is key with developing relationships with anybody. Anybody have a nickname for, have an inside joke with, it actually improves your relationship with them because you have something that nobody else has. And so I think that if it wasn't intentional, like lucky break, bud, because like not knowing your apples really locked you in as someone that I think is going to go decently far into the season.
Yeah, he seems great. And honestly, he can take a joke, which I think is a great quality for someone to have. To not take yourself too seriously is probably a good thing.
So 5 and 5 points. So it's like 5 points, even though Michelle brought it up, but like chose to have him to have like some props for the date. Absolutely. And they had a bit of a smoochy smooch. So woohoo! Get some points here. I think I have Rodney, right?
Yep. You do.
Phew. So now Martin and Jamie are starting to bring the drama to the episode. There's Jamie's suspicious of Joe. Martin is suspicious that she and Joe might know each other from beforehand. Spencer doesn't care. Malik doesn't care. I'm like, right, because it's something that you shouldn't care about. Like, don't care. So Jamie tells Martin that he got some intel from a friend that saw Michelle leave a restaurant in Minnesota, and his friend goes back into his girlfriend, and his girlfriend was like, "Oh, that's Michelle. She's the Bachelor." And apparently, Michelle was having already in a relationship with a light-skinned baller. So I'm just like, I didn't really think that it was true, but I was like, I wanted to know where the truth was in this story. So what were your first thoughts of when this story came up? The friend, the eyewitness.
It's giving me shades of Anna saying that her friend in Chicago knew that Brittany had, been working as an escort or whatever. It's giving me production is your friend, right? Like, what friend told you that? Where's he even from? Who's his friend in Minnesota?
Right?
What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? But the biggest disappointment of all of this is like, you literally have no skin in the game, dude. You have a rose. Like, why are you getting involved with this? Period. Be like Malik and be like Spencer, who are just like, I don't care. And the way he kept saying it, like, added to the ridiculousness of this entire thing. Like, what do you mean? Anyways,
how did they know that whoever? Okay, so if it was a light-skinned man that she's on a supposed date with, how do you know that he's a baller?
Baller.
Like, was he wearing his jersey and like basketball shoes? Like, how do you know that he's a baller?
Yeah. And it was like, isn't it like his friend heard from someone who saw them or something? I'm like, this is broken telephone is ridiculous. It feels so obvious that this was something that he was like told to talk about or bring up in some way. And he just shouldn't have bit. Like, he honestly should have just let somebody else do this, because everyone who was smart enough to not get involved just stepped away and said, I don't care. I actually don't care if she was seen with someone. It doesn't matter to me. But he's decided to now invest himself and talk shit at this point. And it's like, Jamie, you literally did not have to do this at all.
Why are you not being the bigger person? Like, why, like, oh, this actually really does piss me off. Like,
Why?
what?
Like,
what? Like, you got a rose, you had a moment. Like, why don't you just respect the moments that you've had with her and just like work with that, not work with this rumor that I kind of feel that Jamie made it up, to be honest. It just doesn't make full sense to me. Yes, we love Nate's confidence, Cassandra, and that's something that it was bothersome for me about Jamie, is that like he should have had all the confidence in the world with this situation, because they had a really strong moment. And I was like, why is he going down this route? Like, this is bad. This is bad. So Jamie goes and tells Michelle about what's going on in the house. So as far as I could see, it was only him and Martin that was suspicious of like her relationship with Joe. But he instead throws all the guys under the bus and alleviates himself from any sort of like of the blame here, and is like, yeah, everybody's been going on about this and saying that they have a feeling about you and Joe, and that, you know, they don't believe that you guys don't know each other and whatnot, and kind of like really lays it on thick, throwing all the other men under the bus when half of them were like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. And he and Martin were the only people that we saw that had a problem with it. So I was like, I was actually mad at Jamie at this point for making her feel like garbage for something that you were having feelings about. and then throwing everybody else under the bus and not even taking ownership for your feelings about the situation and just like owning it from that perspective.
You're conveniently telling the story in a way that absolves you of any involvement, when in reality you're the main person who's talking about it. From what we've seen, there may be some other folks talking about it too, but especially from what we've seen, you're the main person that has such an issue with this, and you're bringing it up and talking about it with other guys, including guys who are shutting down the conversation. Very convenient. But the thing that I think I was most irritated by is she just shared a very vulnerable day with him, and she was able to feel really confident in that date. For him to then like say that all these guys are feeling that way really puts her in a position where she's going to shut off potentially and not be as vulnerable with anybody else. It's like his way of solidifying his place as like her number one, to be like, well, we shared this deep moment and now I'm telling you this. And it just really like undermines her, honestly. Like, and I don't think that that's respectable, like as something to do. Like you have to be questioning someone's intentions if they do something like that. And this is what I mean about him being two things at the same time. I'm like, he's clearly experienced a lot in his life that has given him a lot of insight, but then he's also doing this, and it's just not cool. Like, I don't know that I don't think he really thought it with the same way that she thought of him empathetically about what he was saying to her, like how that was going to affect her psyche and make her feel going forward. Like, that's not nice to do.
It's not nice at all. And like for somebody that you're supposed to be their rock, like maybe he saw a couple scenes of Katie's season, so she thinks that like people actually want the tattletale like to stick around, but like in real life, not so much. Like, let her figure it out on her own. You were on The Bachelorette. Like, I know that he says that I've never watched any reality TV before. So, like, maybe his lack of understanding on how these shows work, maybe that's coming into play. But, like, I don't know. Choose a different lane, Jamie, because going to hurt her to make her feel shitty about the experiences that she's having with people on this show, making her feel like people are negatively talking about her behind her back, don't have the balls to come and say to her, including you, Jamie, to her face, how they're feeling about a certain situation, doesn't feel great. This is so random. There's like an orange ladybug that's flying around here.
Yeah, there's so many ladybugs out today. I don't know if it's like their season, but I was at work and like they were literally just like all outside, and then like one flew in, and they were everywhere. So it must be like the time of year that they're like out and about. But yes.
My doors are closed. My windows have screens. Like, where's you coming from? Like, where are you coming from? It's fine.
Yeah.
This was just distracting. I was like, whoa.
He also like just brought up something that wasn't how everybody else was feeling. Like, it's like when Carl was saying, oh, there's people that are, you know, talking about what's going last season, and everyone was like, pardon me. And it's like, similarly, except he's saying everybody's feeling this way when that's actually not true. Like, that's actually a lie. Like, we know not everyone feels that way. So what's going on?
Okay, so this is another perspective. So Lily says, Jamie started to give me you vibes when after he talked to Michelle, he said, I saw in her face that her and Joe don't have what we have. Laugh my ass off. He was doing too much for no reason. Well, that's why I'm feeling that, like, if the situation happened, I don't think that it was Joe. So I do think that he threw in the light-skinned baller to make it look as though it was Joe that people are thinking about, so he can get confirmation as to whether or not he needs to worry about their relationship being. But like, maybe his friend just said, oh, I saw Michelle like at a restaurant, and like he added in light-skinned baller. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but he also said that his friend saw her booed up. That was what it was. That was the terminology. And it's just like, how could you even know that? Like, maybe she was just hanging out with a male friend. Maybe her male friend is a baller, because guess what? She played basketball. So maybe she has friends who play basketball. And maybe it was someone that she was seeing before the show. Who knows? But like, I believe her when she says that it wasn't Joe. And I believe her when she says that he ghosted her after 2 texts. Like, Why I don't think that she would lie about that. Maybe like
Totes agrees. So Lily says he needed to relax. Absolutely. He was in a good spot and she liked him, and now he's about to ruin it because he wants to be messy. I don't even think he just doesn't get the show. Like I think that how they've shown this edit shows that he's not going to win the game. You know what I mean? He's lost. So
because now he's doubled down, like it's the choice following as well. So now he's already said this information. But then when we go back to the cocktail party, no one knows who said it. And he's just sitting around acting like, oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I totally agree. Yep.
And like you just see poor Martin, like, oh my God, was this me? Like he was like terrified.
So he doesn't know that he's setting a trap for himself by lying about it. And the producers will absolutely ensure that the truth is unearthed here.
Absolutely.
He's going to be in big danger when that happens.
It's like they're going to throw him to the wolves. Like there's no, sorry, Jamie, you ain't slicking up for the producers of this show. You were done. Like you are not winning the final rose here. It's over for you. So as you already mentioned, she comes back from speaking with Tayshia and just kind of addresses everybody, gives them an opportunity to say something. She's like, this isn't really the moment to be quiet. And so she's obviously irritated that someone's questioning her character, but then nobody is going to pipe up and say anything about it. We know that it's Jamie is the only person that seems to have enough of a problem with it to bring it to her attention. So this should have been a red flag for Michelle. Hopefully it is, but she's going to have to keep him around for a while just because the producers are going to probably force her. But, you know, I was really unimpressed with the fact that Jamie didn't even at least do like okay guys, sorry, like it was me, like I said this, whatever. Like he didn't fess up to any of it. Yeah. So at that point, I'm out on Jamie. I'm done with him.
Well, and much like Joe in You, he kind of took the approach of being like, well, I've already lied about this, so now I just got to go with a lie. Which, like, from a game-wise standpoint, I'm absolutely not defending what he's doing, but what I'm saying is in the moment when everyone is trying to figure out who it is, and it's that heated, and guys are saying, like, fuck, someone who did this, like, I can't believe, like, these guys are pissed, right? You don't want to tell them in that moment that it was you. Like, that's not going to go well.
But like after it sucks too. It's worse.
Oh, it's bad no matter what. But like, I think that he was like, shit, if I say something now that I'm absolutely screwed, like maybe I'll go home right now, as opposed to in the future, maybe I'll have a chance to like explain. Like he needed time to like plan his next move because this backfired big time. So again, I do not co-sign this action. But I feel like he was just like, I cannot say that it was me right now.
So maybe he says disappointing that Jamie chose to weaponize hearsay evidence in that way. Absolutely. It was very disappointing. I thought it was very sexy, though, when Nate was like, well, you know what? You can say what you want to say or not, but I think you're soft. I'm like, yes, he thinks he's soft. I'm like, yes, he's soft. He is soft. Totally agreed with that. So Tayshia and Caitlin come down, say that the cocktail party is canceled. He already has a rose, so Jamie doesn't care if it's canceled. Exactly. So I was just like eye roll about that situation. We go right to the rose ceremony, though. I was worried that we weren't going to get a rose ceremony. It was going to be stupid to be continued, but we got a rose ceremony, so I was fine with not having a cocktail party in this round. And then the people that got roses was Nate, Rodney, Martin, Rick, Leroy, Spencer, Casey, Chris G, so Chris Canada, Malik, Olu, Chris S, Will, Romeo, LT, Clayton, and the final rose, another 5 points to you, goes to Peter. No surprise, though. Like, we knew that he was going to get that last rose. But I was sad because hottie fire truck man, PJ, got the juices. And so did, who's the other fire truck person?
Daniel, I think, yeah.
Also gone. And
Pardeep.
Alec gone. And who?
And Pardeep.
And Pardeep. Was it just 4? Was it 5?
I think 4. And I remember it being like 2 from your team, 2 from my team.
Okay, good. That's
sad about PJ. I feel like he was really slept on. Like they played cornhole. That was cute. Like, I don't know.
I just felt that his looks alone should have gotten him further than Chris G. But I wouldn't be surprised. And not to bring everything back to race, but she does make that a little bit of that point where she felt as though just because she's a Black woman and she might be out for dinner with a Black man, that automatically people think that they're booed up or in a relationship. So I wouldn't be surprised just to, because she said that every single person here has a chance, not just one person over someone else. So maybe just to, not save face, but to feel very inclusive, she kept maybe some of the white men in the game a little bit longer than she might have. That was kind of my thought.
Maybe.
But
yeah, I don't know.
Because I just don't, I see
you have like nothing, like you're keeping LT, like you're keeping like some of these people, like I don't know what we didn't see, but it seemed like, I don't know.
Well, the people that I was surprised by, Leroy, I didn't see her have any conversations with him, I don't think. Casey, I mean, he's been kind of the narrator of the people, so he kind of had some some confessionals. So
not loving his vibe. Not loving his vibe. That's
like, whatever. Chris G, who like whatever. So those three could have been traded out for PJ, because at least
that other Chris too.
The other Chris, yeah, both Chris's like can go. The Miz got to go.
Yeah,
the Miz got to go. Why poor Chris G? You don't care about him. Well, I don't think that Michelle's type is Black men; it's biracial men. Potentially, okay, maybe, or maybe that's just generally what she's dated in the past. And sometimes you date people that are like you, or sometimes it's completely polar opposite. So I can see that. So I will put this spreadsheet together and tally everything, and I'll put the points up, and I'll make a post about it to see how much you're already dominating this season. Do you have any final thoughts before we get off here and catch up on Survivor and the challenge?
Oh my gosh, what a night. There's so much on Wednesdays now.
Oh, and Winter House.
Winter House.
Oh, you'll be on time for Winter House. At least you can watch that perfectly live, right? Is it 9?
Yeah, I think it's on at 9, which is great. You know?
Catch up on everything after.
I do have one last thing. It's literally not important, but I just have to say it. The announcer that they got, Blake Arthur, please let's just go in a different direction next time. That's all.
Why?
What was that? That was interesting. I thought he was actually in another, like, I thought they recorded it after the fact. I was like, there's no way this man's even in the room. And it wasn't until the after the credits sequence that I was like, oh, I guess he was there. But it just seems so like
out of place,
strange. Like, I mean, maybe Blake got, paid well that day. But I think we could have just not had the commentary at all, to be honest. It didn't add anything for me.
Yes, sorry, ask Cassandra. And yes, part 3.
Oh my God.
I even forget. Oh my God, Cassandra. Yes. Oh
he is action-packed. Wednesdays are
just spread it out, guys. Like, spread it out, please. Did you two comment on Chris Heron and Laura Zevon's engagement? Well, we knew that was coming. I mentioned this yesterday, where I felt as though Chris was probably like, damn it, I wanted to make this engagement like on the show, but I'm not part of the show anymore. So I'm going to stage this engagement as if it was on the show, because it looks exactly like the layout of the final rose, where like the guy gets down on the knee and proposes. It looks like the same angle and up, and like, oh my gosh. And so I assume that they were going to stay together. It's kind of like, I couldn't see her breaking it off with him. I feel as though she may just be a little bit of a social climber, just a little bit. And I don't think that anything that he's done has bothered her. So there's no reason for them to break up. What do you think? Any thoughts?
I mean, I think the former host of the show is someone that I've enjoyed not engaging with in any capacity since he's left. That being said, she's stuck by him through everything, so she's in it to win it. Congratulations to them, I suppose. But yeah, I don't care for Chris Harrison,
Yeah, I mean, this is their whole, I do feel like she's a social climber. It's fine. And he's someone that wants a young trophy wife, which is fine. Do what you got to do, what you want to do. I think that her career has soared since she's been dating him, starting off with her own podcast. Now she's like a correspondent for Entertainment Tonight. So
she actually has another podcast now too.
She has
or maybe
one?
It's a different one. Yeah, it's called what is it called? It's called like, oh my god, the title of it is so ridiculous. It's like what is it? Oh my god, I have to look it up. Hold on. It's got a really terrible name.
I think I've heard it too, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. Hi, Sam. So Sam said, but they also cast hella biracial men, so who knows? Well, it's Jamie's biracial as well. Like, is he the baller who's sitting down? Like, I don't know. I think.
Oh man.
I think all the biracial men that they cast are very attractive. And I don't necessarily think that all the non-biracial people they cast are as hot as some of the biracial men. I think the black men are very, very like the I don't know, full skin. I don't know how to call it. Darker skinned black men are all very attractive on this show, but I don't know if I find all the non-black identifying men to be attractive this season.
Yeah. I mean, and we don't know, right? We'll see as it plays out if there emerges like, maybe a type. But I also don't know her dating history or anything like that.
Like, is it not James? Like, that's not her dating history.
No.
Well, no. Thank God she didn't end up with him. Like, any of these guys right now are like, step up. Well, we'll figure out what that podcast is of Lauren Zima's.
Got a terrible name. That's all I remember. It's not good. It's like something bad, but whatever.
If you have any other comments, okay, what should we talk about? Do we think, so with the next episode, it looks like Jamie is just gonna like stick his heels in and really like be like, I don't care, like I'm not here for you guys, I'm here for Michelle. Like he's playing that role. He's gonna become the villain. Who do you think is going to be his biggest adversary? Yeah, that's who I want to know. Who is he going to have the most friction with moving forward? Who is going to challenge Jamie and his position as the villain? That's what I would love you guys to comment below. Like this video, please. Thumbs ups are really good for the algorithm. And if you haven't done so already, well, this is just do it. Subscribe. And then you'll know when we're going live every Wednesday. Sometime, either in the morning or in the evening, you will talk to us about the episode. So unless got any final thoughts, Tanya, we'll say sayonara.
That's it. We'll see you next week.
Bye.